makes up the engine in the Honda Civics that are campaigned in this division. 220 horsepower, again, a 6-speed manual gearbox, fixed ABS, which is a bonus when you're learning, and 2,400 pounds front-wheel drive as well in the TCA class. So they're a little bit less of an animal to control as far as car goes, but definitely up there when it comes to the fun factor here in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin Series. We can take you through the starting lineup. On pole for the GT4s will be Jack Polito in the number 22. He has had a very, very good weekend so far. As a matter of fact, he's won both races in the GT4 class so far. The Polito Ford Mustang. Demi Chalkis will start alongside in the 34, the first of the Mercedes AMGs, and then Mark Lafleur will start in third in that black number 3 Mercedes. Then you get into the TCR class, and that's where we find Dean Baker, who broke through in Victory Lane, race number 2. So it was a track that started out very, very wet. We actually had a fog hold here yesterday, and then it did dry a little bit towards the end of that run. The 52 able to get past, as a matter of fact, the 34 of Chalkis in the dying laps of that race to finish second overall. So a great run for Dean Baker. He'll start on pole in the TCR alongside LP Montour in one of the Volkswagen Golfs. Then it's Ron Tomlinson, Connor Attrell, Quinn Attrell. Row number 5 has Tom Kwok and Jocelyn Hebert. Then Marco Cerrone and Gary Kwok. If Gary Kwok able to make the call for this race, he did end his race yesterday in race number 2. Heavy damage into the turn 5 tire wall on that brand new to him Audi Gen 2 RS3. So we'll wait to see if the green, red, and gray number 66 does make the call. Gary Kwok will keep an eye out. Ed Colleen had problems on the 37 as well. Richard Boak also had some issues after making contact early in the race number 2. Olivier Montour in the 45. Justin DiBenedetto victorious in race number 1, and then problems in corner number 1 of race number 2. So he'll have his work cut out for him here in this one. He's starting all the way at the back of the pack. And then we get into the TCA class. That's where we find Trevor Hill on pole in that group. Jonathan Young, Eric Kuntz, and Megan Tomlinson will round out the starting order. So 4 TCA cars will tag on to the tail of the field. Easy to spot the TCAs. They're all Honda Civics, and they don't have a big spoiler attached to the back end of that race car. As you can see, the TCR class does a big high wing spoiler and splitter at the front of the car. So there's a good look at your TCA class, and Trevor Hill, who will lead them off from pole in that group, tagged on to the back of the TCR class. But this is what makes this Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin Group, so unique, is that you have 3 different classes all participating on track at the same time, and a well-performing TCR class car with less horsepower can actually catch a GT4 class car at times. So it has to take the proper conditions, and yesterday was a case of those proper conditions. Again, you had that drying track, front wheel drive, and then you had monster horsepower in a GT4. It's difficult to get that power down to the ground when you're in a GT4 class car. So that is why Dean Baker able to sneak up there, gain second overall in the 52. As a matter of fact, he's a driver who's had a great weekend because he did grab the Assured Auto Group pole awards on Friday in the 52. So he started off the weekend well on Friday, and then race number 1 didn't quite go to his expectations on a full wet track, and then definitely turned things around for race number 2 in the 52. So we'll keep an eye on that group. And this one, as the field lines up 2 by 2 in through turn number 8. You can see split into 2 pace car groups, so there'll be a little bit of a gap between the GT4s back to the TCRs. So the GT4s out in front, the pace car will pull in, and we're set to go green as they make their way out of turn number 10. So Jack Polito with that inside line, your pole sitter. Demi Chalkis on the outside, and they get up to speed as the green flag waves here in the 3rd of 3 races this weekend for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada.
And Demi Chalkus will grab the lead going down into turn number 1. Polito just a car length back, and then comes LaFleur in third.
The TCR class car now making their way out of turn number 10 and onto the front straightaway, as they will say the green flag in their run as well. So Dean Baker with LB Montour up on the outside as we get a good look at it from high above the facility into turn number 1, looking for any possible contact. It looks like it's going to be clean through turn number 1 this time. And that's good news. Yesterday we had that turn 1 incident in race number 2, and that ended the day for Justin Deepen. And a big wiggle out of the Volkswagen Golf of LB Montour. He tried to stick it down low in turn number 2, and Baker manages to hold on for the lead, but some tense moments for the driver, the number 29.
And David, I think there might have been a little contact between Dean Baker 52 and LB Montour in car number 29 as they battle for the lead here in TCR up into Moss Corner. And then we've got a pretty good scrap here. Connor Atrell in the Hyundai Elantra, followed by the 84 going through here. That is Richard Boak as it's single file up the Andretti straightaway. But here is Demi Chalkus. The young lady will lead the opening lap here in the GT4 class down into turn number 1. Polito in that Ford Mustang in second, and LaFleur keeping it close there in third.
We talked a little bit about Chalkus and her experience behind the wheel of a GT4 car, which, if you're new to this series, she's brand new to this series as well. So this is her first year in the GT4 class car. She's done a lot of testing in the winter down in California just to get accustomed to this car and be able to turn the quick laps that she is turning. She made a start, or was going to make a start, last year in the TCR class. Unfortunately, that's when that big storm came through here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and it sort of scratched that opportunity for her. But into a brand new ride for her this year, and doing very well, as the 89 of Jocelyn Hébert down pit lane. So problems for that Honda Civic TCR class car in the early going.
Tough break there for Hébert. We look at the run up the Andretti straightaway. Demi Chalkus in that Mercedes AMG by a couple of car lengths over Polito. Late braking into the top of the S's there at turn 8, and it's just the car length apart. Here is Polito. Takes a look on the inside through turn 9, and as they come into turn number 10, as they fight at the front, that number 3 car of LaFleur is right there as they work up across the line to complete lap number 2. Demi Chalkus protects the inside line, and the running order here in GT4 will stay the same. Chalkus in that 34 car, again try to make it as wide as possible as Polito looks for a way around off of turn number 2. They head to 3, and Demi Chalkus running a little bit wide there off of turn number 3. And then Polito in second, LaFleur is third.
This is interesting too, because Polito, for the first 2 races of this weekend, has managed to get out in front and hasn't had to work like he's doing right now. He'll follow the 34 of Chalkus up into turn number 5. They'll go single file through there. So Chalkus doing a great job. She's not blocking, not by any means, but doing a great job at defending, being fast where she needs to be fast to hold off the challenges of the 22. But for Jack Polito, now he has to learn where he might be better and where those opportunities present itself for him to make the pass. He's going to try it on the outside down the Andretti straightaway. He'll have a fender up alongside into turn number 8. He's going to stick it up on the outside to the inside of turn number 9. Will be the 22 of Jack Polito, new leader in turn number 9.
Polito making the pass going into the S's. We'll see whether or not Chalkus can keep it close. And here is Mark LaFleur, the Riding Strikers sponsored number 3 car right there. And now he's all over the rear wing of Chalkus as they battle for that second place position. Polito, once he got around Chalkus, is starting to stretch it out as the GT4 cars work off at turn number 2.
And Mark LaFleur, this is a really good run for him and that team. There's another driver who's brand new to this series and brand new to GT4 racing as well. He's done a couple years at the regional level doing some road racing behind the wheel of a BMW M3, but Now he's in this ride, and again, first two races of the weekend, wet conditions. LaFleur really backed it down. He didn't want to do anything that would damage that race car, and now it's in optimal conditions, and he's really turning up the wick and showing what he can do, and he's turning some heads. Problems for the 80 of Connor Luttrell, though, down pit lane for that Hyundai Elantra, and they did have issues earlier on this weekend, but it looks like they're going to go under the hood. So problems for that team, and it looks like Connor's day might be done early.
That third lap, it was Dean Baker, 52, who had the fastest lap of the race, a minute 24.753. Meanwhile, the GT4 cars ahead of him on the racetrack were about 4 seconds a lap slower. So it is Dean Baker, fourth overall, and leading TCR. 29 LP Montour is fifth overall, second in TCR. 84 Richard Boak is third in the TCR class. 48 Ron Tomlinson fourth, and Justin DiBenedetto in car number 4 rounds out your top 5.
Great little battle between the 82 of Marco Cerrone and the 86 of Quinn Luttrell. Luttrell did manage to get back by the number 82 of Cerrone, but Cerrone battled back down into turn number 8, picking up that spot, so moved the number 82 back into 9th place. But those two definitely back and forth for the latter half of the top 10, 9th and 10th, and you can see from the drone shots and from when they pass your position around this racetrack how close that Audi and the Hyundai is and how little space there is between those two cars.
82 Marco Cerrone and Quinn Luttrell battling all the way around the racetrack, and here is the move by Luttrell in car number 86. They have made their way up into Moss Corner. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, it is the 22 of Jack Polito and that Mustang, who is now stretching it out. This is more like he ran in the races here yesterday. Jack Polito, again, as we've had the case in a number of classes here this weekend, looking to pull off the three-peat, the sweep here of the event. The battle for second continues between the two Mercedes AMG drivers. 34 Demi Chalkas, Mark LaFleur in car number 3. They run second and third. So it looks like that, unless something changes here in a big hurry, that is going to be the order going to the victory podium in GT4. Meanwhile, we're still watching that run here by Dean Baker. He is closing on the GT4 class cars because he is running still about 3 seconds a lap quicker. Even Jack Polito's time is a minute 27, and then Baker a minute 24 and change.
And we can tell you, you may have seen the car off the pace earlier on that lap. That was the 48 of Ron Tomlinson, and the Audi is now down pit lane. He was running in 7th position, so he's having a very good run here this afternoon, but unfortunately something amiss under the hood of that Audi, and he comes to a stop down pit lane, and they will try and make repairs to get him back out, but it looks like his day of fighting may be done. Jack Polito still out in front in the 22, though. Demi Chalkas now 4.5 seconds back as they cross the stripe.
And they've got some of those TCA cars sandwiched in between, so Polito has gone around some of the TCA cars here on the racetrack, and they're sitting in between. That battle going on for second between 34 Demi Chalkas and Mark LaFleur in car number 3. Just checking the lap times, it was Polito down in the minute 25s, but again, Dean Baker will check the interval. It was about 13 seconds as they completed lap number 6. But Baker continues to click off those minute 24-second lap times. So for some reason, the TCR cars are much quicker here in the dry to the GT4 cars, just looking at where they were running here yesterday. Quinn Luttrell, car number 86, is 8th overall. That would be 5th among the TCR cars. Then 6th in TCR, Marco Cerrone, 82. 7th is 66, Gary Kwok. 8th in TCR is 37, Ed Killeen. And then Tom Kwok, 55, followed by Olivier Montour, and then it is Trevor Hill who continues to lead TCA ahead of the 8 of Jonathan Young, 38 Megan Tomlinson in third, and then Eric Coons runs back in fourth.
Trevor Hill, one of the two founders of Tooth Autosport. You can see the flasher go on that Honda Civic. He is very much a veteran race car driver. He's aware of the other vehicles around him. He looked in his mirror. He saw that big blue Ford Mustang coming up on him, and he, rather than pointing a hand out the window, all you can do is just flick on your flasher on these race cars and let the driver know that I will let you go by on that side if you want it. And that's exactly what Jack Polito did. But that's a veteran move from the driver who currently leads in the TCA division and has picked up 2 wins already this weekend. But you know what? Jonathan Young in the other TCA car, the number 8, is not too far behind. He's really keeping touch, about 4 seconds back of that division leading number 2 of Trevor Hill. As you look back to the front of the field and the race leader overall, boy, has Jack Polito ever been able to set sail since he got past the number 34 of Demi Chalkas. He's opened up nearly a 10-second lead. But Pat, as you mentioned, the 52 of Dean Baker is coming and trying to track down those GT4 cars. And now those GT4 cars are mixed in with some of the slower lap traffic getting into some of those TCA cars. So your perfect lap won't necessarily be perfect anymore. You won't have that optimal line to make up your time because you'll have a car that's occupying it, and it's a slower TCA car. So it is one of those learned skills when you run in a mixed division race like the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada. You have to know where you're quicker and where you're going to catch the person. Try and plan for that ahead of time. But I mean, if you look at the top 3 in the TCR class, Richard Boak, who's had some issues at times this weekend. He came home in the top 10 in race number 1, but had issues in race number 2, unable to finish that one. Is poised for a podium position here. Improving on his position by 8 is the driver of the 84, and there's Jocelyn Hebert down pit lane again. So whatever issues plaguing that Honda Civic continue. And Justin DiBenedetto, remember, he won race number 1 early Saturday morning, and he's up 9 spots. Currently in 7th overall. He is in 4th in the TCR class in that 4 car. So he is doing very, very well here today.
And he is running 4th in the TCR class. Quinnatrell 86 in the Hyundai Veloster rounds out your top 5. The other thing here, Demi Chalkas has pulled well clear of Mark LaFleur, who is back in 5th overall, but 3rd in GT4. And Dean Baker and number 29, LP Montour, have moved ahead of LaFleur. We had those GT4 cars running 1, 2, 3 early on the racetrack, but now Baker, who is continuing to go faster and faster, he is up at a minute 23.954. That is the fastest lap of the race, and he is close to within just about 12 seconds of the race leader Jack Polito, and just a couple of seconds behind Demi Chalkas in car number 34. Demi running in the number 2 spot in GT4, but it looks like she is being reeled in by Dean Baker, 52, and the 29 of Luis Philippe Montour, and that would put Richard Boak, who is 6th overall, 3rd in TCR.
See a good battle there in the TCA class. Megan Tomlinson in the tooth prepared number 38, holding off a challenge by the 25 of Eric Kuntz. As a matter of fact, she managed to get past Eric Kuntz down the back straightaway. As now it looks like Dean Baker is in the shadow of 2nd overall Demi Chalkas. And to the inside goes the driver of the 52. He won't be able to make it work into turn number 8, and that sets him up for the outside of turn number 9. So that would be a dicey place to make a pass. Will he get a run to the inside in turn 10? Not quite up there. He's going to try and keep that momentum up off of turn 10 and down the front straightaway here, but very much catching that draft. And these cars do react well to a draft down the Andretti straightaway or even along this front chute. It does help them overall performance-wise and to try and set up a pass. And that's exactly what Dean Baker's trying to do now with Demi Chalkas. right alongside. He goes to the outside, turn number 2. What a bold move for the driver, the 52. Inside a 3, and now Baker will go second overall. Still your race leader in the TCR class, but he had to make a move, because if he looked in his mirror, he would see the 29 of LP Montour, who has closed up considerably as Baker was trying to get past the 34 of Demi Chalkas. Montour really closed that gap, and it's making it a race at the front of the TCR class.
And Montour is now tucked right up under the rear wing of that Mercedes AMG as they head up the Andretti straightaway. So Demi Chalkas right now in a TCR sandwich. He's got the Audi ahead and the Volkswagen behind on the Andretti straightaway. But again, she still is well clear of the third place car of Mark LaFleur. And then we've got these two very quick TCR cars. We'll check the lap time here on Baker. It was about 11 seconds. There's the pass by Montour getting around Chalkas. So TCR cars now running second and third overall.
Yeah, Montour used that slingshot on the outside of turn number 9 as Demi Chalkas went to take the normal racing line through turn number 10, sort of outside, clicked the apex and to the inside. That's where the 29 of Montour filled the hole, went to the inside and picked up the position. But a great move for that driver as he tries to close the gap now on Dean Baker. Last time they crossed the stripe, it was a little under 2 seconds, so he has a little bit of work to do to try and catch up to the driver, the 52. Baker, who's first overall in the TCRs and second in the race overall, I should say.
Louis-Philippe Montour up into third. Demi Chalkas, 34, running fourth overall. And second in GT4, Richard Boak now has moved up into fifth overall. He would be third in TCR. Then Justin DiBenedetto in the number 4 car has moved ahead of Mark LaFleur. He has picked up 10 overall positions. DiBenedetto, because with that crash into the tire walls in turn 1 yesterday, he had to start in the back and has just carved his way up here into 6th overall. And that would be 4th among the TCR cars. That last lap for Dean Baker was 1:24.381. The leader, Jack Polito, in the Polito Ford Mustang, was 1:25. And that means the margin is down to about 11 seconds between Polito and Dean Baker. Louis-Philippe Montour sitting in third, and then Demi Chalkas, Richard Boak, Justin DiBenedetto, along with Mark LaFleur and Quintrell. All of those drivers, all 5 of them turning their fastest laps of the race as the pace continues to quicken. We're working our way up to the halfway point, 12 laps completed, and it is Jack Polito in the Ford Mustang as the leader, but Dean Baker in that Audi is starting to close. It's down to about 11 seconds.
And it looks like Polito is going to come into some lap traffic. A couple of the TCA cars just ahead. Megan Tomlinson having a dynamite dice, realistically, with Eric Kuntz. These two have been back and forth, and they two just set their 2 fastest laps of the race. But you can see Polito cuts through, passes the 38 of Megan Tomlinson, and then will do the same thing to the number 25 of Eric Kuntz. And we've got a car around Ed Killeen. That appears to be turn number 5. And the Audi stopped, but it appears as though he didn't hit anything. I'm looking around for damage, and I don't see any on that RS3, so it looks like Killeen just looking for an open spot on this racetrack to be able to rejoin.
Not sure if we'll get a replay, but it looks like he just ran wide there up into 5A and then slid off, but he has gotten back onto the racetrack, so we stay green. Ed Killeen in car number 37 had been running 10th overall and 7th in TCR. That is going to drop him back. That is going to move Marco Cerrone in the Martella Motorsport entry up into that 10th place position overall and 7th in TCR.
You mentioned Justin DiBenedetto, and what a day he had yesterday. The highs of highs and the lows of lows after tasting the victory lane champagne in the morning and then ending up in the turn one tire wall early in that race. The very first corner, the very first lap, Justin DiBenedetto has had to start at the tail of the field. He has improved 10 positions already today. He is on the move for sure, but he has a significant gap to try and make up to the driver ahead of him, Richard Boak, who's improved 9 positions. So those are two drivers who have had their documented troubles here this weekend at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but making up for it in their final chance to here in race number 3.
Looking at that terrific battle for third and fourth in TCA involving Eric Coons, who is just ahead of Megan Tomlinson. Those drivers down to the minute 37s and minute 38s here on the racetrack. They're just a few car lengths apart as they run up here into turn number 3. And now they've got Demi Chalkas and the 84 car that has come up here. Good run for Chalkas running in second, but Richard Boak is right there trying to get around Chalkas. They'll make the pass on the short chute going to turn 4 of those two TCA cars. And so Demi Chalkas, 34, who has been passed here by a couple of the TCR cars. This is the third place runner in TCR, Richard Boak, 84, and he's tucked right up under the rear wing of the number 34 Mercedes AMG. Not much difference between those two cars. They're pretty equally matched. We'll see if Boak takes a run down the inside off the end of the Andretti straightaway, and he is going to make the pass to move up into 4th overall, still running 3rd in TCR. So Demi Chalkas, who led here early, but now has been passed by not only Polito and the other GT4 car, but our top 3 TCR cars have also gone by that Mercedes.
And a smart move for Demi to let the 84 car go after Richard Boak ducked to the inside in turn number 8, because yes, it is for overall position, but you're looking at your specific group in the GT4 class, and Demi's still second behind Jack Polito in the GT4s. Boak's still trying to climb the ladder. He's sitting in 3rd, so he is in a podium position in the TCR class, but he has a ways to go to try and close the gap on LP Montour. So he is just continuing his forward motion, and Demi Chalkas could just look and say, this is not going to affect my day overall. I'll let you go. Obviously, you need to make this move, and you need to keep going.
David Bradley, keep an eye on Dean Baker. Here he is in that Audi. He is reeling in the race leader, Jack Polito. Remember, back here in qualifying on Friday, Dean Baker turned a lap at a minute 22.387 to post the fastest lap. Right now, his best is a minute 23 and change, but he has been consistently about a second a lap quicker than Jack Polito, and what had been a 12-second gap is now shrunk down to, we'll give you the latest update, just 7.4 seconds. We come up on 17 minutes to go as lap number 16 goes up on the board, so keep an eye on that gap. Baker is definitely reeling in the leader. Now, they're in different classes, but there's bragging rights to being the overall winner here if a TCR car can get around and pass and beat one of those, in theory, faster GT4 cars.
Yeah, but you have to look back to the 29 of LP Montour. That car has been crossways a couple times coming out of turn number 9. I've been watching him here from our position in the announce tower, but if you spot him in different places around the track, there's a wiggle under braking going into turn number 5. LP Montour is definitely turning up the wick, and here's a driver who doesn't know how to hit cruise control and just ride. He is all out every single lap, and as a matter of fact, he turned his quickest lap of the day just 1 lap ago. Richard Boak went quickest overall into the 123.8 range for the driver of the 84. So you can see how these drivers start to gain their confidence in a dry weather setup, because it is still very early in the 2023 season. Not a lot of testing done for some of these teams, so they're still coming to grips with these cars and figuring out where they can push and where they can gain time. But Baker manages to get around one of the TCA class cars, and now LP Montour will have to do the same, and it looks like Montour is going to catch, I think it's Megan Tomlinson in the 38, catch her in the turn number 1 area, so that's going to cause him to lose a little bit of time.
Mark Lafleur is still running back in the 3rd place position in GT4 and 9th overall. We started with 20 cars, took the green some 25 minutes ago out of the running here this afternoon. The 48 of Ron Tomlinson, 89 Jocelyn Hebert, who was on pit road a number of times. It looks like they have parked it, as has Connor Luttrell in the Hyundai number 80. 17 cars continue to run here with less than 15 minutes to go. Polito's lead continues to shrink. It's down to 7 seconds over Dean Baker as they work up the Andretti straightaway. Also, Luis Philippe Montour running in 3rd, and actually the fastest lap of the race belongs to 84 Richard Boak in car number 84. The Blanchette Motorsport entry running back in 4th overall, but looks like he is right there as well, and maybe closing on the leader Polito, as well as the 2 TCR cars ahead of him on the racetrack. 18 laps completed. We've got about 14 minutes to go, and that lead is down to 6.3 seconds. Polito back to Baker, so there's enough time where we may have a fight here for the overall win between the Jack Polito GT4 lead car and 52 Dean Baker in that TCR Audi RS3.
I'm looking at the 29 and the 84. Those gaps now all under 4 seconds back to Dean Baker to the 29 of LP Montour. It's under 4 seconds, and then under 4 seconds back to Richard Boak. As a matter of fact, a little over 3 seconds as Richard Boak really starts to reel in the race leaders. You mentioned that he turned the quickest lap of the race a couple laps ago, and he is still lapping quicker than both LP Montour and Dean Baker, the leader in the TCR class. And as a matter of fact, quicker than the driver, the 22 Polito Ford Mustang of Jack Polito. So Jack Polito has built up a nice cushion ahead of him, so he doesn't have to force the issue. He doesn't really have to take huge risks while working through lap traffic. So that could cost him a little bit of time, but realistically, he has built up that ability to do that, to take a couple corners easy if he needs to, because he still has almost a 6-second gap on the rest of the field. And again, Boak goes quickest of the day, a 1:23.7, as he's now 2.5 seconds back of LP Montour for 2nd in the TCR class. Keep an eye on that 84 of Richard Boak.
And again, another battle on the racetrack, different classes, but Justin DiBenedetto running 6th overall and 4th in TCR is all over Demi Chalkas as they come off of turn number 2 and into 3, just a car length apart. Demi Chalkas right now running in 5th. Justin DiBenedetto is 6th as they work the short chute straight away through turn 4. And now it'll be down the chute up into turn 5 through Moss Corner. DiBenedetto is right there to within a car length. Also looking at the TCA class, it is Trevor Hill, your leader in car number 2. He is 14th overall. Jonathan Young, the 8 car, is 2nd in the class. Eric Coons, 25, has just earned his fastest lap of the race, 1:36.601, and then Megan Tomlinson in car number 38 back there 4th in TCA.
You can see Demi Chalk is able to hold off the charge of the 4 car of Justin DiBenedetto in turn number 8, as it looked like the 4 was poised to make a move to the inside, but Demi Chalk is using that momentum, the long swing around in turn number 8 to hang on to that position. So Demi maintains the top 5 overall in the number 34. But again, we're looking at the times at the front of the field, so it's now just over 4 seconds between Jack Polito, who leads overall. Dean Baker in the 52, who is in 2nd, as now DiBenedetto moves to the inside in turn 3, so he will move into the top 5 overall. He's still 4th in the TCR class on track.
Well, he has had certainly an up and down weekend. That win here in race 1. His afternoon ending early, going into the tire walls in 2. And right now, DiBenedetto putting on a charge up into 4th in the class. And then looking at GT4, Polito 22 is your leader. Demi Chalkas back there in the 6th, 7th place position now.
Look at this, though, at the front of the field. It looks like Ed Killeen just ahead of your race leader. And Dean Baker may be having trouble getting by Ed Killeen. Killeen is not a lap car. Of course, he had that issue. He is a lap car, but he's not a slower car, I should say, on the racetrack. He had a spin and put him back in traffic, and now the 52 is right there. But that's allowed the number 29 of LP Montour to close the gap and get right there as the number 22 of Jack Polito continues out in front.
And also looking here at that battle that's going on now between the 84 of Richard Boak and Justin DiBenedetto in car number 4. So this one is a long way from over. Across the line there as they completed lap number 21. It was only about 2 seconds between the race leader 22, Jack Polito, and the 52 of Dean Baker. And as well, we've got the fight here. Richard Boak is all over. That's the lap car of Olivier Montour, but Richard Boak is having a battle here with the 29 of LP Montour. That is for 2nd and 3rd in TCR.
Trying to make a move down to the inside in turn number 8, and the TCA class car was there. It finally opened up. Boak had a great run, and he manages to clear LP Montour before they get to turn number 8. Now he moves to the outside of Eric Coots in the TCA class, but just threading the cars like a thread through a needle as Richard Boak moves from outside to inside in the 84 and to 2nd in class. Jumps up a step in the podium, but this is not done, not by a long shot, as the 29 of LP Montour is right in his shadow in turn number 1. So it's funny, as Dean Baker was being slowed up in lap traffic, as was the 29 of LP Montour. Lap traffic got between the 52 and the 29. That brought the 29 back into the sights of the 84 of Richard Boak, and it was Boak who was able to capitalize the best through those lap cars and pick up a position. But wow, what action late in this race with 32 minutes completed, still 8 minutes to go in this 40-minute timed race.
Richard Boak qualified here on Friday afternoon, 3rd fastest among the TCR cars, because the top 6 positions in qualifying did go to the TCR cars. And now we look at that lead battle. It's down to, I think, less than 2 seconds. Jack Polito in that Polito Ford Mustang at the off the end of the Andretti straightaway. There's the 52 of Dean Baker, and all of a sudden we've got a battle for the overall lead as the GT4 and TCR class leaders work on the start-finish straightaway and head up across the stripe to put lap number 23 up on the board. And that lap was Jack Polito's fastest, a minute 24.852. Not as fast as Richard Boak, but all of a sudden Dean Baker is right there to within just a few car lengths as we've got just about 6 minutes remaining.
You could see Baker on that last lap as they were navigating lap traffic. The 55 of Tom Kwok was in between himself and Jack Polito, but he still managed to get that toe down the Andretti straightaway and pick up those all-important tenths of a second. And now he is right behind the 22 of Jack Polito as Polito continues to work through lap traffic around the TCA class car of Jonathan Young. And Young does a really good job at keeping a heads up and moving to the outside in turn number 5, allowing this Polito-Baker battle to continue down the back straightaway.
Indeed, the battle up front here down to about a dozen car lengths. As we wind it up, less than 6 minutes remaining in through turn number 8. That beautiful blue Ford Mustang, Jack Polito, through turn 9. Here comes Dean Baker, 52. Baker clearly fastest in qualifying, and he's come back there on the start-finish straightaway, working across the line. Lap number 24 completed for Jack Polito. Richard Boak right there in third. And then fourth is Luis Philippe Montour, second and third in TCR. And then Justin De Benedetto rounding out your top five. He would be the fourth place car in the TCR class.
Leaders coming up on the number 3 of Mark Lafleur, and he'll pull to the outside and let this battle continue so he does not get in between the number 22 of Jack Polito and the number 52 of Dean Baker. And Baker, again, he closed up going into turn number 5. He's just able to drive that car a little bit deeper. It's lighter, and that's one of the benefits of the TCR class cars as compared to the GT4 cars. Yes, GT4s have oodles more horsepower, but it's the power to weight ratio of the TCR class cars that's benefiting Dean Baker right now. He's able to drive it so much harder into the turns, and then you get back on that power and it picks the car up a lot quicker than the 22 that lays just ahead.
Looking at the rest of the TCR rundown, De Benedetto in car 4 is fourth in the class. Then 86 Quinn Atrell is fifth. 66 Gary Kwok in the Audi runs in sixth. 82 Marco Cerrone seventh. And then 55 Tom Kwok is eighth. And then the 37 of Ed Killeen ninth. Olivier Montour rounds out the top 10 among the TCR cars as we come up here on less than 4 minutes to go. And we've got a battle for the overall lead coming off of turn 2, headed for 3.
Baker trying to set up Jack Polito. You can see swinging out wide in turn number 3 to try and diamond off that corner on the exit and hold it down low. He won't be able to because of the TCA class car that was in his racing line, so he ducks in behind the 22. Now looks to the inside. Turn number 5 bangs off the curve on the entrance to 5A. Now 5B, a new overall race leader, and it's the 52 of Dean Baker.
But here comes Polito. He'll tuck right up under the rear wing. That Mustang with just a little bit more punch up the Andretti straightaway. And these guys could be going side by side into turn number 8. Dean Baker, your new leader, into turn number 8. He will turn back the bid by Polito, who drafted him all the way up the Andretti straightaway. And now as they work through turn number 9, we come up on less than 3 minutes to go. I think the next time by, they are going to get that white last lap flag. But for the moment, it is the 52 of Dean Baker leading overall and leading TCR.
What a drive for the 52 team this weekend. As we mentioned earlier, he did pick up the Assured Auto Group Pole Award on Friday. And unfortunately for him, race number 1 didn't go quite according to plan, but Baker still coming home inside the top 3 on the podium in race number 1. And then, of course, picking up race win in race number 2. So Baker having a great weekend overall. 2 podiums and potentially 2 wins as he's setting up here in the late stages of race number 3 for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada Series. And looking back, you can see Boak has a sizable margin. It's about 2.5 seconds now over the 29 of LP Montour. So did Montour burn up those Michelin tires, pushing a little bit too hard, trying to catch the 52 of Dean Baker? That is a possibility because he was sideways a lot of the time in that Volkswagen Golf, but he'll be happy with his run as it sits right now. Definitely one of the 3 top cars in this class.
Richard Boak, who was 3rd fastest in qualifying on Friday, has had a solid run here, running 3rd overall, 2nd in TCR, and he does still hold the fastest lap of the race, that minute 23.748. And as we look down to that flagger stand, I think it might very well be 1 more lap before they will throw that white flag. No white flag out as yet. Last lap, pardon me.
Yeah, for Dean Baker. So 1 more trip around as we look at the clock, and now less than a minute ticking down until the 40-minute time limit is up for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada. Montour still chasing Richard Boak for the second podium position in the TCR class. But there is your overall race leader, your leader in the TCR class, and Dean Baker. Since he's been out in front, he set his fastest lap of the race. As a matter of fact, the only other driver to get into the 1:23 range other than the 84 of Richard Boak. So obviously a big smile on his face. That car very comfortable as he works down the Andretti straightaway. He'll see turn number 8. He's got nobody in front of him, nobody behind either. So no pressure all around for the driver out of Bowmanville, Ontario. In the 52 as he works his way through turn number 10 and onto the front straightaway. Dean Baker will see the checkered flag for the second time this weekend, but this time the overall race winner in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada.
And Jack Polito and that Polito Ford Mustang will follow him across the line. Second overall, he will win GT4 for the third time this weekend. And then it is Richard Boak across the line here, lap number 28 completed, as we wait for the leader here in TCA. And coming to the line again, another driver who won all 3 of the races this weekend in that number 2 Honda Civic. A great run for Trevor Hill. It'll be Jonathan Young in second in car number 8. He just turned his fastest lap of the race on the very last tour of the racetrack. Eric Coons, 25. Looks like he will win that battle with Megan Tomlinson for the final podium spot among the TCA class cars. And then we had the 3 DNFs, Rod Tomlinson, 48, Jocelyn Hebert, 89, and Connor Attrell in car number 80. So it is Dean Baker, your overall winner. He takes the honors in the TCR class. Jack Polito completes the sweep in the Polito Ford Mustang in GT4 with Demi Chalkas, 34, in second, and Mark LaFleur third. And then behind the race winner, Dean Baker, second, going to Richard Boak in car number 84, and third to 29, LP Montour in the VW. So that's a look at our top 3 in each of the 3 classes. And Dave Bradley, a bunch of other rounds to get in here, including that big weekend at the Honda Indy in the middle of July. And then, of course, both the Sports Car Championship Canada and the M-Zone Radical Cup Canada Series, both presented by Michelin, return here to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on that September 1, 2, 3. That's the Labor Day weekend sprints. And again, in all likelihood, that's when the championships in both of those classes are going to get decided.
What a wonderful event here to kick off the 2023 season for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, as the field comes down pit lane and they will make their way to the podium and speak with our Todd Lewis on the podium, collect all the trophies and get a couple hats. But the podium presentation brought to you by Braden Motorsport here in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada. But what a weekend, what a final day of the weekend here today. Beautiful weather, great crowd, great racing in all divisions on track. Just a wonderful day to be out at the racetrack.
And again, we thank all of those race fans for staying with us and catching our final race of the afternoon. Again, a reminder, our next major weekend comes up June 16, 17, 18. That is Father's Day weekend. It'll be the Varac Vintage Grand Prix presented by eBay Motors, featuring Mazda Pistons versus Rotary. We'll also have the Field of Dreams car show, along with all of the other various classic and vintage races going on that weekend. Then we go in July on the 7, 8, 9th, the Chevrolet Grand Prix. The IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship will be here, along with support races in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, the IMSA VP Racing Sports Car Challenge, and the Super Production Challenge Series. That is July 7, 8, 9. The Superbikes return to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park August 18, 19, 20. That'll be a triple header, 3 Superbike races on the weekend, along with pro sport bike, amateur superbike, and amateur sport bike, along with the brand new Pro Twins and lightweight sport bike classes. Again, that is August 18, 19, 20. And then September 1, 2, 3, the return of the NASCAR Pinty Series to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the WeatherTech 200. We'll also have the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin, along with the Nissan Sentra Cup, and also the M-Zone Radical Cup Canada presented by Michelin. Again, those are the other major weekends here at the racetrack. We would love to see you back here. You can pick up tickets by visiting the website CanadianTireMotorsportPark.com. Again, our thanks to the management and staff here at Canadian Tire